As tensions continue to escalate between Iran and Israel, with both sides launching a fresh wave of attacks, we spoke to several experts to understand the implications of the wider geopolitical conflict and where the war is headed. And this is what they had to say. Listen in.
As the Iranian official says, and also IAEA said, I suppose it cannot eliminate Iran's nuclear facilities and also its capacities because of its infrastructure that is really under the mountains. So I think even if the United States supports more than it from Israel, I suppose it cannot eliminate Iran's nuclear facilities and nuclear capacities. And also I have to mention that Israel and also the United of them know that Iran never wanted to achieve nuclear weapon, and this is not something that I said. Even the U.S. Intelligence Society in its latest report actually convinced it, and they said that Iran doesn't want a nuclear weapon. So I think it's just some claims, and Israel just tried to convince public opinion of the world that this is our aim, but everyone knows that this is not their aim. Actually, they more than 20 years later, since 20 years before, they talked about bombing Iran. And every time they said that Iran would achieve nuclear weapon next year, next 5 years. But we've seen that during these years, Iran's never wanted to achieve that. And even the Supreme Leader said that this is not in our defense doctrine. So I think that the United States and Israel know this. And this is just some claims that they try to convince public opinion of the world.
Is in Israel's court. Iran's foreign ministry made it very clear yesterday that once Israel strikes, Iran will also stop in retaliation. But right now, as I said, things are getting bleak, and it's not just between Iran and Israel, but the wider region. And we even have Iraqi paramilitary groups such as Kataib Hezbollah have now come out and threatened the US that they will resume attacks on US forces. So there is a risk of the US now being dragged into a war by Israel. And I would also like to mention earlier in your report that Israel has been striking missile sites, yes, but their strikes have also killed civilians. We have reports of up to 400 people killed in Iran and 600 wounded. And Iranians are already starting to become displaced by Israeli strikes. People are leaving the cities such as Tehran to go and seek refuge in more rural areas. And some of these buildings where the so-called IRGC commanders are also host civilians. So it's a very dark time for Iran, for the whole region, and for the West as well, because the West is also interested in nuclear diplomacy with Iran.
Somehow, for Donald Trump, justified a less for USA not to intervene as they used to do in favor of Israel. Maybe if Iran being struck in such hard way in the legitimacy itself of the Iranian government, the mullahs government, maybe they will start to consider enlarging the attacks and bombing American military facilities in the Gulf and also in Iraq. If they do so, this would be a threshold, and this would lead the Americans maybe to associate themselves to Israel to continue carrying out these attacks.
That Iran is going to target U.S. assets, whether that is U.S. forces in the region or U.S. installations such as embassies or military bases, because I think Iran knows that if they do target the United States will probably enter the war alongside Israel. And that would mean that an air campaign that is already quite punishing is going to get worse, including the potential use of what we call bunker busters, which are very heavy bombs that the United States can deliver against Iranian targets inside mountains that the Israelis really can't get at. So I think we're going to probably see more of same for the foreseeable future Iran doing what it can to strike back against Israeli population centers, but probably continuing to be cautious about going after other targets, and in particular, U.S. targets.
This is absolute desperation. There's assessments coming from multiple organizations. Israeli intelligence, we'll leave them out of it. We'll just use American intelligence. You can look at other assessments from individuals like David Albright, and they were putting it at a 3 to 4 month away from weaponization and militarization. And this is the next step towards building a nuclear bomb. You know, the Islamic Republicans say they were never wanted to build a nuclear weapon all they want, but right now this just smacks of desperation. A week ago they were saying we can enrich we want. During the Biden administration, they were enriching up to 60% and then up to 90%. Why would they need to enrich up to those levels if they never wanted to build a bomb? And finally, they would be the first country in the world that is able to enrich, reprocess, and didn't possess a nuclear bomb. So there's a real trust factor with the Islamic Republic, and every international organization has had to deal with that. And I think that's why you see a lot of leaders around the world, the IAEA coming out against them, a lot of the Middle Eastern leaders, they've been pretty much silent, and they're kind of falling in behind and saying, you know what, this is one of these moments where I'm glad we're not sitting a month away, 2 months away, 3 months away, and saying, oh boy, only if we had let the Israelis take care of this nuclear program. That's how critical it is.